Today we're going to be talking about footwork. Now typically what we see most often is either a 4 or a 5-step approach. And one of the big mistakes that I see amateurs all around the world make is that first step. Whether it's a 4-step approach or a 5, that first step gets too big. And what that causes is it causes the player to get quick early and then all of a sudden run out of room going to the foul line. So the last couple of steps get real choppy and real short. We'd like to see just the opposite. So focus in on taking a shorter first step. Now remember, if you're a 4-step bowler, that ball moves with that right foot if you're right-handed. It moves together, okay? A 5-step approach, move the left foot first and then the ball with the right foot. And that's your sequence. Now let's talk about the direction that we should be walking in. Now back when I first started on tour, the bowling balls didn't curve or hook very much. So we had to keep everything in front of us. We had to go really straight through the front part of the lane. So what we saw was the players would walk really straight and stay very much in line with their target. Today in the modern game, we see the players walking away from their target. And what this creates is it helps them open up their bodies as they get to the foul line to project the ball to the outside part of the lane. There's so much more power today. The bowling balls are so much stronger that you have to open the lane up. You have to create angle. So practice walking or drifting away from your target. So there you have it, folks. Keep that first step short. Each step after that will progress on its own. Make sure you're walking a little bit away from the target. Stay focused on where you're sliding at the foul line and make that as consistent as possible, and I guarantee you better results. What is timing? Well, timing is the differential between the feet and the ball getting to the foul line. And so how do we change, create, or make timing better? Well, timing is created by when I push the ball. Am I going to step first and then push? Am I going to push at the same time? A lot of it depends on how many steps you're taking. We're going to show you 3 different timings from 3 stars on the PBA Tour, and we'll talk about their timing and how they set it up. Here we have Bill O'Neill. Now this is more of a traditional, old-school timing with power. Notice how he pushes the ball a little more level to the floor. His feet are slower based on when the ball is being pushed into the swing. And look at the height of his backswing, just slightly above shoulder level. This is more of the old school traditional way. The difference, Bill O'Neill's incredible release. Now let's look at a completely different timed up swing, one of the most unique swings we've ever seen on the PBA Tour. Mike Fagan. Notice how early the ball gets into the swing, and it has to because look at the height of his backswing. Remember folks, the higher the swing, the earlier the ball has to get in motion. Notice how he waits for the ball really nicely at the top of the swing. The left foot gets to the foul line before the bowling ball. He's able to plant and create leverage and power based on this timing. Now let's take a look at Chris Vai for all you two-handers out there. In 2021, he bowled not 1, but 2 televised 300 games. So here's a guy that uses the two-handed style, but it really is kind of a throwback, more conventional type of style. He's more upright, the timing's more delayed. He kind of stays in the box, if you will, a little bit more square than what we normally see from the two-handers. But again, the bottom line is look at all the power he creates. Because of Chris Vai's timing, he's able to make shots. So he takes advantage of all that power because now he's created accuracy with good timing. All right, folks, there you have it. 3 different ways, 3 different timings. Just keep one thing in mind, this little tip. If you go to league or go to practice and you feel like your feet are really fast, you're probably getting the ball into the swing too early. If they're feeling really slow, you're not getting the ball into the swing soon enough. So there's a way to throw the ball slower, there's a way to throw the ball faster, and that's created by how and when you initiate the ball into the swing. Work on your timing. Great timing is absolutely essential to becoming an elite player. So the way to create good balance at the foul line is pretty simple. We don't want excessive movement. So in other words, if I start my approach and I start leaning heavily with the upper body, get too low, all of a sudden I'm going to have a lot of movement, right? What we like to see is a gradual progression where we start tall and we finish low. So how do we do this? Well, as we start and we go through the approach, we start to create a little upper body lean, just gradually. Then we start using our legs to get a little bit lower, right? We start bending those knees, using those quads, and we gradually get lower to the foul line. Think about like walking down a flight of stairs, right? And then once we get to the foul line, try to feel like the center of the chest is centered over the slide leg. This is gonna put you in great position and great balance. And then once the ball is released, try to stay in that position for about 5 or 10 seconds, or maybe until the ball hits the pins. This is a great practice routine. Let's take a look at some of the pros that have great balance at the foul line. Here's Parker Bone III. Look at that knee bend. You know, he had the same knee bend 30 years ago. I mean, this guy's incredible. Here's Kyle Troop, and this guy really uses his legs, folks. I mean, look at that drive, that pivot step right before the slide. This guy's got really strong quads, and look at that great balance from the two-hander, Kyle Troop. Here's Chris Prather. Remember I talked about kind of walking down a flight of stairs? Chris Prather's movement to me is one of the best on tour. I mean, you could literally put a plate of food on his head and he wouldn't spill a drop. So there you have it, folks. I hope this tip helps to improve your balance, because balance is essential to bowling bigger scores. 2 pieces of advice, 2 tips that I think all of the great players in the world do today in the sport of bowling. The first is the release and where they get their hands at the release point. A lot of that is predicated on their arm swings, right? We talked about that a few tips back, but that arm swing helps create that perfect hand position right before they let go. That hand gets to the inside part of the ball, they load that wrist, and as they're letting go, that wrist unfolds. It's almost like throwing a yo-yo or a frisbee. Think about it. If I loaded my hand with a yo-yo this way, and I flung my wrist open as fast as I could, I'm gonna put a lot of revolutions on that yo-yo. Old school, and the way I was taught, was you had the lift on the bowling ball. But think about this. If I had a yo-yo in my hand, and I went to lift that yo-yo, it would never leave my hand, right? So again, that hand in that perfect spot, and then unloading that wrist, and that's gonna create a lot of power. The second part that I think makes our players so spectacular and so good is balance at the foul line. Think about the position. You got the shoulder down, the leg going to the other side, while the hand's moving forward, the arm's moving forward. I mean, it's just unnatural. I mean, you have to be an athlete to be able to get into that position, throwing a 15 or 16 pound ball down the lane and then stay balanced. So if you work on these 2 parts of your game, getting that hand in the right spot created by a really good backswing, and then work on your balance, stay balanced each and every shot that you throw, you're gonna become an elite player.